It is not the time to delay your promises to 2050. It is the time to help those whose voices need to be heard. It is the time to build a world where countries are able to adapt to the climate crisis. Just last year, Mexico was hit by different climate disasters, and we were not able to stand them. And now, you are being hit by them, and you will not be able to stand them. In Mexico, at least 60% of the population has been hit by a climate disaster. And now you go next. Dear Global North leaders, with the climate crisis already affecting your countries, we hope you realize it is your time to act and that your empty promises are not as visionary as you think. Your too late climate action in 2050 will not help us solve this crisis. Dear Scottish Prime Minister, you say that Scotland is a place where climate action needs. Why is the Cambo oil pipeline being boiled? And why are not the voices who need to be here speaking along my side? Thank you.
Wait, sorry, I know it must be confusing for you to encounter Indigenous people, but again, the speakers are here. They're over here.
Do you mind saying everyone's name so we get exactly the names of the speakers?
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to go along and we're going to talk to the individuals. You need to know their stories. Who do you show in your news stories? Do you talk about floods, hurricanes? Do you mention that it's climate change? Do you mention the impact on people's lives? Think about what you show. You have power. Do the right fucking thing.
We've just had floods down in Cumbria and Hoy.
Yeah.
Okay, well let us start here.
Yes, Eric.
Oh, I'm Eric Njuguna from Kenya.
I'm Eva Mercedes Rodriguez Urchurtu from the UK, Mexico.
My name is Isa Nur Mohammed and I'm from South Africa.
My name is Precious Kalombona from Lusaka, Zambia.
I'm Colette Levy Brown from Botswana.
My name is Saul Vega from Mexico.
My name is Isabel Racamonte from Mexico.
These are the people you should be platforming. Listen to them. Now we are going to hear from John from the Philippines.
Hello everyone, I'm John Bonifacio. I'm from the Philippines, Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, Fridays for Future MAPA, and the Southern People's Action on COP26. The most affected peoples from the Global South have fought for decades for a space on the table where every year, world leaders over there decide on the fate of billions of us without us. This COP26, after so many difficulties in what is shaping to be the most exclusive COP ever, we have had enough. The climate crisis is happening today, right now, and the Global South is being sacrificed, while the rich, industrialized countries get away with abstract emissions targets here and there. In the Philippines, we're one of the most impacted countries on the planet. Last year, we experienced 4 typhoons in the span of a month. 2 of those typhoons are some of the costliest typhoons to ever hit the country. So you can imagine what this means to us when we're here right now, while world leaders go about and decide that the future is negotiable. And the massacre of the peoples of the South, including in the Philippines, from the most affected peoples and areas, continues with the destruction of land and life through profit-oriented and foreign-backed extraction to serve the interests of the few. In the Philippines, massive mining projects devastate indigenous peoples and ecosystems. And whether they're mining for coal for burning, or mining for copper and lithium for their batteries and their renewables, once again, it is the peoples of the Global South that is paying the price. The Global North can have their electric cars and their solar farms, but unless the system of capitalism and imperialism changes, once again, we are paying the price. The climate crisis cannot be solved for countries like the US, the UK, and other historic polluters at the expense of billions of people in the third world. From the Philippines, from the Global South, we are here to call for an end to climate imperialism. The genuine resolution of the climate crisis lies in challenging and subverting the current colonial capitalism that is responsible for the devastation of our world today. At 1.2 degrees, as Evelyn mentioned earlier, MAPA is already in living hell. typhoons obliterating lives and livelihoods, floods reaching the top of third-story buildings, wiping out farmlands. This is just what the Philippines is experiencing. All of these other countries, they have their own stories too. 1.5 degrees is already a compromise, and 3 degrees, for some reason, while it's still negotiable for these world leaders, and that is what we're heading now, cannot be on the table. So to the world leaders here at COP, over in the conference center, making all those fancy pledges and statements, we are watching you. We have come here to demand our basic right to life and a livable future, and we, the youth, alongside the most impacted sectors of society, will not stop until we uproot the system and build a world that puts people and planet first. What do we want? When do we want it? Now! What do we want? When do we want it? Now! Thank you.
Now, we're going to listen to Nikki. You're going to hear the stories. We are going to share what it means to live in the crisis.
Hi again. I'm Nikki. I'm from a climate justice activist from Argentina. I'm part for Jóvenes por el Clima Argentina. I'm part from Friday for Future International. And I'm here because the decisions taken or not taken during this COP will determine the quality of life of present and future generations, and we will not then decide without us, without the voices of young people from MAPA, that means most affected people and areas. Since we don't have a real voice in there, we are saying what we want from here. When we think of the climate crisis, we think of numbers, degrees, projections. But climate crisis is not just weather for us. We are talking about our life. We are talking about basic human rights, such as the right to water and sanitation, the right to housing, to health, and even the right to life. That's why we fight for climate justice. Climate justice means recognizing the historical responsibilities of this crisis, and that those who are most affected are the least responsible. And this has to change. Because in Latin America, we are already experiencing the effects of the climate crisis, from fires, from historic thaws. In my country, 1 million hectares of forests and wetlands were burned in 2020, among other reasons, due to heat waves and droughts because of the climate crisis and because we don't have a wetland law that we really, really need it. So again, we are not talking about something that is going to happen in the future. We are talking about something that is happening now. And although we sometimes hear that we are all responsible for the climate crisis, that is a lie. We are not all responsible. There are only 100 companies that are responsible for 70% of the greenhouse gases, and the richest 1% of the population emitting more than twice as much as carbon dioxide as the poorest 50%. So it's time to start talking about what countries in the global south need: climate finance. Where is the $100 billion that the most responsible countries promise to give to the countries of the global south for mitigation and adaptation? For countries in the global south, funding for adaptation is part of our survival. For example, only 0.3% of the global climate finance currently goes to realizing the human right to water and sanitation, one of the most important human rights that we have. We haven't seen that money yet. But the only thing we can see now is how the consequences of the climate crisis are getting worse and worse in our countries. And at the same time, countries like Argentina had to pay a millionary external debt to the most responsible countries for the climate crisis. But you know what? The debt is not ours to them, but theirs to us. The debt is with us. The debt is with the young people who are suffering and who will suffer the consequences. The debt is with countries from the global south who are already suffering the consequences of this crisis. But the fact that the leaders from the global north are failing us doesn't give the right to Latin American countries, especially Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and Brazil, to do nothing but the opposite. They have to listen to their people and not to the interests of a few who don't want to solve this crisis. There are movements that are already building that change, like the movement of excluded workers, waste pickers, who are the ones who save us from not having tons of trash in the streets, and the Union of Land Workers in Argentina. Because most affected peoples and communities are not just passive victims. They are essential in finding a real solution to the climate emergency. But again, our countries need the financing to make a just transition, and the countries of the global north have the obligation to do so. But no matter what happened at this COP, we will make history, because the solution to the climate crisis is not there, because the hope is not there, because the hope is here, the hope is in the movement. And it's time to let action speak louder than words. Today, world leaders who make decisions are at a place in history where they are the last administration to be able to act on time. So we would like to know, are you going to listen what the people are demanding on the streets? Are you going to keep your promises? Are you going to pay the $100 billion a year you promised? We would like to know. Our eyes are on the COP26. Don't let us down.
That would be nice, mother.
Now, we are going to hear from Name from Mexico. Even if people are in the same countries, experiences are different. People have different experiences. The crisis affects everyone differently. Listen to the people.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Name. My pronouns are they, them. What I wanted to talk is about reparations, about climate debt, but also about what does it mean and what does it have to do also about hope, about political action by the people. Reparations, as we know, are very, 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 very important.
Yes!
93% of the historical emissions has been emitted by the global north. The 1% richest has emitted the double, 2 times those of the 50% poorer in the whole world. But we also have to know that this is not only a geographical, territorial issue. This is also a class issue. How is it that Mexico, a country which has 60% of our people living in poverty, also has emitted 150% of what it can? How is it that people who doesn't have light also live in a country that emits so much more than what it can? This is because it is a class issue. This is because this is an anti-capitalist, anti-state issue. Why? Why is it that Pemex, a national business controlled by the government, is the ninth dirtiest business in the whole world? How is it that Carlos Slim and so many millionaires live in a country with 60% of people living in poverty? This is because reparations are not only a monetary issue, they're not only a territorial issue, they're a class issue, they're an anti-state issue, and they have to go beyond what it is a monetary issue. It's not only climate debt in the sense that the global north pays the global south. It is also in the sense that the poorest and all the people that have been marginalized by the capitalism, by the colonialism, need to have more political power, more social power. Without that, we can have nothing. The only way that the people from the global south can have also political power and social power if we get out of the logics of the system, of the hyper-monetary logics of the system. How can we make this? We can make this by the growing our economy. And what I need to say is that we need to degrow the North so we can decolonize the South. Degrow the North, decolonize the South. That is what reparations mean. That is only what reparations mean. If we just think about it as a monetary issue, we can do nothing. And also, what I want to say is that if we degrow, if we decolonize, we will also be creating a society more happier, more hopeful for all the people. How can it be that, for example, my family, I have been living with stuff like depression for most of half of my life. Also, I've been living in a family that just every month has to exploit ourselves so we can still living in a precarious way of living. Just to be in, for example, a school that supposedly has respect, we need to also accept that we are being kicked out of our house 2 times in what I've been living. That is what capitalism is. That is what supposedly the effort of growing is in a place, in a society that lives around the ideology of economical growth. What is the growth? The growth is decolonization. The growth is new ways of being happy, new ways of expecting better things for your life. And the growth is also to listen to all the people who, not for 20 years, not for 50 years, but for hundreds of years, have been saying what we are saying now, that capitalism doesn't function, it will never function, it will destroy the planet if we don't stop it. We need to decolonize, decolonize, decolonize. Reparations means degrowth for the North, decolonization for the South. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to have one last speech from Colombia, and then we're going to do some questions from our people for the most affected areas. So we're going to have Sofia, Emilia, and from Francisco from Colombia.
Hola a todos y a todas. Mi nombre es Francisco Vera Manzanares, tengo 12 años de edad y soy activista climático y en defensa de la vida en Colombia, y tengo un movimiento ambiental junto a mis compañeros y amigos que se llama Guardianes por la Vida.
Hi, my name is Francisco Vera Manzanares and I'm an activist from Colombia. I'm 12 years old and I have created a movement with my friends, and I defend the life and the environment in Colombia.
Yo creo que este espacio es muy importante para todos y para pues sí, todo el mundo, porque en él estamos siendo incluidos los países del sur global, que somos los más afectados en esta situación climática, en esta alerta roja para la humanidad, y por supuesto también estamos siendo incluidos los jóvenes y los niños y niñas de todo el mundo, que también tenemos una voz como ciudadanos.
Hi. Okay. This space is really important for us, and we're here because we're from the global south, and and the voices of the children needs to be heard as citizens. We also need to be part of the decision-making processes because it is our present and our future.
Y como presente, como niños y jóvenes que somos no el futuro, sino el presente, merecemos un presente digno, porque yo podría decir perfectamente que tengo todos mis derechos garantizados, pero debemos tener empatía con las personas y los niños que tienen que emigrar de sus hogares, que tienen que emigrar de sus territorios por el cambio climático, que tienen que dejar sus hogares, que no tienen acceso a la educación por esta problemática climática. Y esto también sucede en Colombia.
We need to have empathy with the children that are also facing the displacement from their territories, that are also not being respected from their own human rights and children's rights. We also need to fight for our present, because we have our rights, but some of them are being vulnerated by by the decision-making people that's here.
Y en ese sentido, como jóvenes y voces como ciudadanos, le exigimos a los gobiernos del mundo que cumplan y que prometan promesas reales y que no salgan enfrente a la comunidad internacional a decir mentiras y cosas que no son, como mi gobierno y como otros del mundo, a los cuales también les exigimos que no solo den discursos bonitos, sino que también lleven esos discursos a los territorios, al Amazonas, que se calcula que para 2100 se transformará en una sabana, a los océanos, a los mares que están repletos de plástico, a los polos que se están derritiendo. Y
if anyone who knows Spanish, I said something that I missed, you can say it. We are demanding also the decision-making leaders from the world to take real action, no more empty promises, because we are tired of listening empty promises, especially from our government, the government of Colombia. And we need to reach out also the territories of the Amazon, because we're going to see how by 2050 the ice is going to keep melting in the poles, also the oceans with a lot of plastic contaminations, but as well as in our country we're seeing the devastation of the climate crisis.
Y ya para finalizar, nunca olvidar que esta situación nos debe unir y no separar, que nos debe unir como uno solo para luchar en contra del cambio climático y en contra de todo esto que hemos creado, porque este planeta no tiene fronteras, porque las fronteras solo son un concepto, las fronteras son líneas imaginarias y hay que dejarlas de lado para poder actuar juntos y en comunidad, de forma colectiva, por un futuro y presente digno.
We're tired of hearing beauty speeches. Now we're here because we need to be united. We don't have barriers. The frontiers are just an imaginary line. We're here to be together, to fight together for a dignified present, and yes.
Y que vivan los niños, las niñas, que viva esta causa en favor de la naturaleza y de la vida, porque debemos construir juntos una sociedad desarrollada, pero no un desarrollo económico, ni tecnológico, ni industrial, sino un desarrollo que privilegie y que ponga la vida en el centro, que cuide la vida. Eso es, y ya. Y pues que viva esta causa. Gracias a todos. Que esta causa, que nos unamos sin diferencias.
We need to be united despite our differences.
Que luchemos y construyamos un desarrollo.
Aquí lo económico. And we need to fight for a development, not only in an economic way, not only in a technological way, because some of our countries are also very much rich in biodiversity, and we need to keep protecting that for a real development. Okay, and we'll go for more.
Francisco Vera from Colombia. Francisco Vera from Colombia. Okay, so after this amazing speech, we wanted to use the Colombia's highlight that we had to say that the Colombia's president is here. He came here today, and we also brought his family as a family trip while defenders in Colombia are getting killed because Colombia is the most dangerous country in the world to be a defender. So this is a message for our president, because we know you're not taking this issue seriously enough, and we know you're sharing a different story, but we know the truth, and we are watching you. Te estamos viendo, y Colombia es el país más peligroso para ser líder ambiental en el mundo. Así que we're watching you, and please stop being so ridiculous. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we are now going to take a photo doing the Mapa Solidarity sign. So this sign, when you see it happening, it means we are unheard, not voiceless, fighting for our present, not just our future, and that we will not be prisoners of injustice. So can all the speakers come to the front and do the Mapa Solidarity sign?
Can you move that thing in the roof?
Then after this photo, we're going to take a few questions for the people who spoke at the press conference. And those are the people who are most affected. Again, this Mapa Solidarity symbol, Mapa means most affected peoples and areas. This means that we are unheard, not voiceless, fighting for our present, not just our future, that we will not be prisoners of injustice. Okay, we will now take questions from the press. If you have any, please raise your hand and indicate who you want to speak to. To be clear, Greta is not taking any questions today. Thank you. So we have amazing speakers. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, if we could kind of hand up an elephant if we are wanting questions, please. Yes.
Watch out, you're standing on it.
This question's for Anna from Northern Ireland. Anna? Is it not? Okay, so today Boris Johnson said that he's got money isn't an option. What do you have to say to that?
Can you repeat your question, please?
Boris Johnson said money is no problem when it comes to solving the climate crisis. What do you think of that?
That is bullshit.
That was Kevin Matai from Kenya. Please take his name down. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Hola, yo también vengo de Colombia y quisiera que de pronto alguno de ustedes nos hablara sobre la situación del asesinato en líderes sociales. Es una situación muy real en nuestro país, los números son bastante altos y ustedes como jóvenes están liderando justamente una lucha y esa lucha puede costar la vida. Francisco con 11 años ha sido víctima de amenazas y eso es algo bastante serio en mi país. Entonces no sé si alguno de ustedes nos puede hablar sobre cómo hacer también la defensa de la vida de ustedes que defienden el medio ambiente.
Sophia, can you translate?
Okay, so basically the question was like, in our country, in Colombia, it's really difficult to be an environmental defender, and the numbers are really going up. Francisco, he's only 11 years old, and he's also being threatened for doing environmental activism in Colombia. So she wants to know if you could like tell something about this situation and how to defend the life of those who defend the environment.
Hablo en español. Ok, creo que esta situación es una situación sumamente grave, ¿no? Saber que defender la vida y el medio ambiente sea un peligro y pues básicamente, bueno, eso. Es una situación muy lamentable y grave porque la vida es un peligro.
It's a really bad situation and a real serious and like grave. It's a severe situation that defending life is condemning our own lives in Colombia.
Yo fui amenazado y muchas otras personas más, y por eso es algo importante que en esta COP se hable de cómo los gobiernos van a generar garantías para los líderes ambientales y sociales. Y eso.
I was threatened for defending life in my country, and it's really important in this COP that the world leaders that are here start taking action on protecting the environmental and social defenders, especially in my country.
Y hay que buscar la manera en cómo podemos garantizar los derechos humanos y además también que las personas se puedan expresar con tranquilidad de estos temas.
We need to find a way to protect human rights, and we also need to find a way on how people need to express freely without being threatened and defending life without being threatened.
Ya que este problema no solo es un problema climático, ambiental, sino que también es un problema de derechos humanos. Y acá también está el acuerdo de Escazú, que es un acuerdo que debe ser ratificado por todos los gobiernos de Latinoamérica para garantizar el acceso a la información, la participación ciudadana y esas garantías que necesitamos como líderes ambientales.
There's also this thing called the Escazú Agreement that is providing for the rights of the people.
El acuerdo de Escazú debe ser ratificado por todos los gobiernos de Latinoamérica para garantizar el acceso a la información y la participación de los líderes sociales y las garantías de la vida y la integridad.
Okay, and this Escazú Agreement must be ratified by all Latin American countries to guarantee the access to information to activists and leaders, guarantee their right to life and their right to land, to information, participation, and others. Thank you.
Como Chile vamos a agregar que nosotros también hemos tenido activistas muertos, tenemos a Macarena Valdés y activistas indígenas, y el mecanismo, además de Escazú, que es lo elemental para poder proteger a los latinoamericanos.
In Chile, we also have activists who have died. Do you understand?
Valdés,
Macarena Valdés,
Camilo Catrillanca. Ya, okay. Y lo que hemos hecho es instar a la gente a proteger a los activistas ambientales, organizándonos, denunciando, creando abogados ambientales que puedan defendernos.
What we've been doing in Chile is organize ourselves. We are asking to the people to help protect land defenders. Helping with environmental lawyers who are volunteers mostly. to protect indigenous peoples and us activists to protect us from death threats.
Y hemos hecho que lleguen a puestos de poder para que puedan representarnos y así no corran peligro.
We are working to bring these lawyers and these people to places in the power so they get protection from the government, from the institutions.
Finalmente, lo más importante es que de aquí al próximo año, el próximo gobierno de Chile y los de Latinoamérica firmen y ratifiquen Escazú, que es el mecanismo político para solucionarlo.
And what we need to do now, we only have until next year. We need our government in Chile and all the governments in Latin America to sign and ratify the Escazú Agreement, because it's the legal mechanism that we have in Latin America to protect the people, to protect the land, and to put human rights and environmental rights in the center. Thank you. ¡Escazú ahora!
Another question? Gracias. Bueno, yo también vengo de Colombia. Y quiero preguntarles por el acuerdo de Escazú. En el caso de nuestro país, es un programa que el gobierno ha estado impulsando y ya fue rechazado por el Congreso de la República. Yo quisiera saber si es posible que ustedes puedan hacerle un llamado más allá que a los gobiernos, es a los políticos, a que se enteren de este programa, a que de pronto lo impulsen y de alguna forma pues lo aprueben para que puedan de esta misma manera generar como esa ola de impacto en otros países también.
El problema es que a los políticos en Colombia no les interesa porque sus intereses económicos están entre medio. No es que no sepan qué es Escazú, lo saben, es que significa que nuestras vidas no son válidas porque sus intereses económicos son más importantes.
También pues Duque había asegurado que iba a firmar el acuerdo de Escazú después del paro nacional en noviembre del 2019, lo aseguró, eso salió después de las conversaciones que se hicieron y aún sigue sin ratificarse, pero son justamente las personas de su partido que no lo quieren ratificar. Entonces solo es un juego de mentiras y de engaños para la población para que pues no se ratifique. I'm going to translate if you want.
¿Hay algún llamado a los políticos puntualmente a los que pertenecen al Congreso?
Basically from the Escazú agreement in Colombia, they're putting again profit over people. The cattle industry is continuing to expand and they're not ratifying the Escazú agreement because they're saying that it's on the contrary of the government's policies and they're putting the supposedly economic development over the defenders' lives. So basically that.
Básicamente los intereses económicos priman más que las vidas humanas y asimismo los intereses económicos de todos los países importan más que América Latina y África. Por eso Escazú no ha sido ratificado. Saben lo que es, pero no lo quieren firmar porque la plata está entre medio.
The economic interests of our politicians and of the countries, they're privileging the economical interest for over human lives. And
no lo van a firmar porque sus inversiones están en los proyectos de
they don't want to sign, they don't want to ratify the Escazú agreement because their interests and their families as well are putting money on the projects that are destroying our lands.
La única forma es apelar a la empatía de las personas y que nos apoyen.
Sebastián Piñera, we trust in you. You failed us 2 years ago when you like president, when you lead the agreement negotiations. You failed us. You put the money interests first. So we trust in the new president for the government of Chile to sign and ratify this Escazú agreement with urgency, and in all the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, because we can't stand any more violence against the climate activists. So that's it. Sebastián Piñera, te estamos observando.
We're watching you.
We're watching you, President from Latin America.
We're watching you.
We are now accepting questions for the African activists especially. We've already heard how they did not get any attention from media most of the time. They're usually portrayed as voiceless and passive victims, so please, now is the time to hear their voice. If we have any questions, especially for the climate activists from Africa, yes, thank you.
Lucy, you're stepping on the cable. Thank you. Everyone please a little back so there's no space for the activists.
What is it? Can I ask it? I am a science teacher. Then I used to teach refugee students from all over, especially from Africa. What is she? And my question is, what do you think about all of this migration? All of these people moving to different, they had to leave their countries and they had to go to another country. And especially I was teaching a lot of people from Somalia, from Sierra Leone, from Congo, from Somalia, Ethiopia, many good people, but they had to leave their country because all of the situation, sometimes it's climate change, sometimes it's political problems. Thank you.
Evelyn, that question is for you, but if anyone else from Africa wants to answer it.
What do I think about climate migration?
We're gonna have Eric Damien Njuguna from Kenya to answer that question.
Okay, the climate crisis is clearly affecting people in Africa, and climate migration has been a result of the ongoing heat waves, the floods in Kenya, or even the droughts that are making people move to other places in search of food, or for cattle keepers moving away from where they lived in search of food for their livestock. It is something that is being experienced by many Africans, and in my opinion, that is something that is going to continue for years. And so I think that migration, having people into other countries, is something that leaders have been frowning upon. It is an issue that is not only happening in African countries, but also in like Haiti, people moving into the United States. So, migrants are being pushed away back into their countries, back into the suffering. And that is why we advocate for no borders at all. And that is pretty radical, but I know it is what we want. Climate justice is also about migrants' justice, and that is why we advocate for no borders. But we are also advocating for no action, so that it doesn't reach a point where people have to move out of their places, out of their lands, where their forefathers, their ancestors have been living there, and have to move into another place just because of some global north leader or some asshole up there who doesn't want to stop leasing new fossil fuel companies, okay? Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any more questions, especially for the activists from Africa or anyone from the most affected areas? Do we have any more questions?
Can I speak to the interpreter for Francisco, please?
Yes.
Just a question I want to ask him, not a public question. I just want to ask a question. Sophia. Can I ask
does anyone else want to have questions? Here. Sorry.
I think the song is.
Okay, so right now we are actually waiting for a few activists to arrive. They were supposed to sail up the Clyde on the Greenpeace warrior boat, but they have been stopped. But they are here to let their voices be heard. They'll be here in a few minutes. And these voices are so important to be heard because they've come such a far way to get here.
I am Eric Njuguna from Kenya. And as Mitzi had told you, many African activists don't get to meet to be on press or get their stories heard. And that is why, as Fridays for Future, we created this space to have African activists and people from MAPA, most affected people and areas, so that you get to listen to their stories. People from MAPA, most affected people and areas, bear the brunt of the climate crisis disproportionately. Their stories don't always make the headlines, but they matter. We are at COP26 and we wanted to create the space to listen to their stories and to accommodate them. A lot is going on within the confines of the COP26 conference, but the real action is happening out here because the most affected people and areas are here and they have been sharing the stories. As I said, they might not be making the headlines, but they matter more than whatever Boris Johnson or whoever is at that conference might say. So that is why we have created this space, and you as the press also have the role to play in platforming these stories because they connect having their stories, they connect people to the humanity because their stories bear the brands. What they're telling has the true meaning of what the climate crisis means to them compared to what they're saying in COP26. So their stories bear the true meaning of what the climate crisis is, and that is why they need to make the headlines all the time. So as the press, that is why we have this spaces. It's not only for activists, but it's also for you to learn from us and to tell that story the way it is, because recently UNICEF released a report where 1 billion children are affected by the climate crisis. That 1 billion children to many is not just numbers. It's a huge number, but to us, that is somebody's child, that is somebody's sibling, that is somebody's best friend, that is somebody's neighbor, that is somebody's cousin. And all these people are hurt when the other is affected by the climate crisis. And that is the humanity we need to see in your stories. So we're not here only for the activist spaces, but we are also here for you to be able to tell the stories. And I hope that we move to a point where black activists or African activists are on the front pages, and we move from a place where activists are being cut out, or you're not telling their stories as it is because you have a white activist and you're using their story as clickbait so that they can open it. You know, we want our stories have the true meaning of what the climate crisis means, and we hope that they might not be catchy. I don't know what looks like catchy to you guys, but please tell these stories as they are, because you guys are part of the movement. So I hope that from this you're gonna get some of the stories that you had here, and focus on the most affected people and areas compared to and tell the truth of what kind of an asshole is speaking at COP26 right now. Yeah. Thank you very much, and I hope you have learned from everyone. Yeah. Hi, you have a question?
What's your name?
Oh, yeah, I'm Eric Njuguna from Kenya. Njuguna is spelled Njuguna.
NG.
I am 19 years old. Yeah.
Eric, how do you spell your surname? NG?
NJUGUNA.
UNA.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone has questions for any of our activists here?
Judging by how misrepresented Africa is on the global... Judging by how misrepresented and underrepresented and disgustingly erased the global south are from media, you should have a lot more questions because clearly you don't know much. So this is your chance. We're here. Ask.
Is there anyone who has questions for any of the activists here before they arrive?
They don't have questions, but they will write something bullshit tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, okay. I know. They're looking for something to tokenize. Okay. Get it. Again, based on how disgustingly erased the global south is, and based on the fact that you don't have questions, I'm assuming that lots of people aren't really here to learn. They're just here to take us and
Maybe you could stop insulting us. We're here for an obvious reason. We'll cover what we can. Maybe you could stop with the insults to the press. If it wasn't for the press, people would not know about what is going on here, okay?
Let me answer that. Let me directly respond to that. Well, I know you have to see where the anger is coming from, because it is almost equally as an insult for Mapa people to be cut out of for stories, and this is where the anger is coming from, and this is because of the press who have cut out our stories and are not making the headlines. So listen here, our stories matter more than whatever you as a white actor, what journalists could ever tell us. So this is why their stories matter, and it is equally as insulting as any other journalist who would cut out our stories. You might not feel this, but that is racism, and that is where that anger came from. So, and that is why you had that kind of anger.
Repeatedly, and we're standing here quietly, listening to all of your speeches, and it's rude.
Hi, so I'm gonna say something. I'm Mitzi Janelle Pan, and I'm from the Philippines. And we know everyone is really stressed, but you have to understand the pressure that is on climate activists right now. Not from you guys, but the whole world is looking at us to lead the way, the climate justice. But why are we the ones who have to lead? Why are we the ones who are being looked at? Exactly. We want to be here to lead together, because this is a people's issue. The climate crisis isn't just an issue that's affecting young people, it's also affecting you guys. And we are here to work together, and that's what we need to do. We need to come together and go beyond all of this and fight for our common liberation. And I know that everyone is angry, everyone is cold, people might be hungry, but we are not each other's enemies. The enemies, where are they? Which one is the SC? Is it there? That one? They're in there.
Okay,
and
so
they're the ones who are being called. We understand that everyone is angry right now. But let's redirect that anger. Who should we be angry at? Where should we be angry? At them, at the people who are lying to us, at the people who are calling us the inspiration and the hope, the people who are putting all this pressure on us to fight with each other. Because when we fight with each other, then we don't fight alongside each other. When we fight with each other, we don't fight alongside each other and identify the true enemy that's causing the climate crisis. Because the climate crisis isn't just an environmental problem. It is a systemic issue that impacts people at its core. I don't think that the climate crisis is the biggest threat to humanity, because it's always been the end of the world for someone. Racism, ableism, sexism, slavery, exploitation of workers, all of this has happened, but the climate crisis is the only thing that maybe might eventually threaten the rich, white, old man sitting in power right there. Somewhere there. I don't know which one the SCCC is. And that's why we are here together to fight for climate justice. And the world of climate justice that we're fighting for is one where we come together, one where we sing together, one where we dance together, one where we exchange languages and cultures together. I keep getting asked what my hopes are for the UN Climate Summit. I don't have hopes. I have expectations and demands. Where my hope is, it's here, with these people, with you guys, because I know that we are coming together the fight for climate justice. We know that you are here because you care. We know that these people are here because we care. We're all fighting for the same thing. So it's time to go beyond all these angers that are misdirected. We have to understand where each person is coming from. And we have to understand that the climate crisis issue is one that has to go beyond the socioeconomic crises. We have to understand that the climate crisis amplifies other social economic crises and also get amplified by those socioeconomic crises. Whenever we don't know what climate justice looks like, whenever we're wondering, is it even possible to have a better world, we look around at the movement. We look around at how people are amplifying one another. We look around at how people from across the world love each other. These World Leaders Summit, it's not world leaders. The world leaders are right here. The world leaders are right here, leading the people, leading the movement. As long as we come and unite with each other, then we will never be defeated. The people, united!
Will never be defeated!
The people, united!
Will never be defeated!
We now have very special guests coming down somewhere. They have come a long way. They have sailed up supposedly from on the green ship Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior, but they were blocked because again, the world leaders in that summit do not want us in. But they have come here a very long way and we need to hear their voices, and they will be here in a little tiny bit.
Sé que es complejo para los líderes, para ustedes, gente que vive en el norte global, entender la rabia del sur global.
I know that it's hard for you to understand, for you, the people from the global north, the anger that we, the people from the global south, experience.
Nosotros nos hemos unido sin importar si son del norte o del sur, pero sí tenemos que responsabilizar a alguien que el enemigo aquí cuando apuntamos allá es la corrupción, es el narcotráfico, es que ellos prioricen sus sistemas económicos por sobre las vidas humanas. Ese es el enemigo.
But of course we need to choose somebody to blame. We have come all together to realize that they are the enemy. They and the corruption, the narco traffic, they sitting up there, they are the ones.
We ask to everyone to be behind the human behavior that we have right here, please.
Please silence. El sur global los ha escuchado toda la vida, hombres blancos sentarse a decidir el futuro de nosotros. Además, los proyectos extractivistas, ¿de quiénes son los dueños? De Estados Unidos, de Europa, de Japón, los países que están energiados.
The global south has always waited to sit, has always waited for white men sitting and taking decisions for us.
Podemos entender su rabia, pero no la justificamos porque hemos vivido 500 años de colonialismo. Así que es justo que nosotros nos enojemos con ustedes.
We can understand your anger, but we don't justify it because we are the ones who've experienced more than 500 years of colonialism. So it's just for us as well to be angry.
Thank you.
Okay, so everyone have another question, please. Questions? Let's talk so we don't get cold. Let's get warm. Do you guys have questions? We have activists for so many countries here, from Africa, from Latin America, from Asia. What? So basically, okay. Basically today the global leaders are meeting
And I'm from Brazil, and Brazil's president Jair Bolsonaro is not here because he is basically a liar. Everything that he says is a lie, and he was in UN this year, and he basically said that Brazil is doing so great about the preservation of our biodiversity. A lie again. And he's not here because he's not brave enough to handle all of these lies. And there's a lot of Brazilian young people here because we want the people to listen to our reality, because even we have a lot of deforestation. I mean, one of the most countries that have like the highest deforestation in the whole planet. We also have a lot of environmental defenders, and Brazil is the country that kills the most environmental defenders in the world. So every day it's a struggle basically living in Brazil. And this right here I never experienced in my entire life, because if you strike in Brazil you go arrested. If you try to speak, they try to silence you. So for a Brazilian, this is like insane. And I just want to say that we are very tired to see our indigenous communities being devastated every single day, and that all of you should listen more to the original people, because we are just 5% of the global population, and we are responsible to protect over 80% of the planet's biodiversity. As I always said, the reason you're breathing is because indigenous people are protecting the planet. So you should defend us, help us, and support us more. And in our country, our president and all of our political representatives are trying to end all of the demarcated lands. You probably have heard about the Bill 490 that basically says that all demarcated land is not demarcated anymore. And on Friday, on the global climate strike, I received a call for a family member saying that two indigenous community where I live was being evacuated by the police, and I was in Stockholm. I couldn't do anything to help. And basically they also cannot do anything, because when this happened, just people in power can do something, and they don't want to do it because they just care about what is under our land. They don't care about you. Want to ask you something to... Thank you.
Does someone have any questions to Adriana? Any questions?
We're going to book that in.
Yeah. So this is Ina Maria Chikongo from Namibia. Hello everyone. How are you doing? Are you cold? Yeah, you look cold, eh?
I'm freezing.
But you people are used to this cold, eh? Hey. Well, on our side we have, I am Ina Maria Chikongo. I am from Namibia, and a climate activist, I'm a poet, I'm an artist, and I'm a mother. And guess what? People, I love it. You know that where we come from, our lives are constantly being threatened by the climate crisis. Namibia has, some parts of Namibia have not received any rain for the past 10 years. We can see our Himba people migrating to Windhoek
because of drought. The livestock is dying. And then at the same time, you have this company from Canada. You know what they're doing? Those people, they decided they're going to drill for oil and gas in the Kavango Basin, the home of the Kavango Delta, protected by UNESCO World Heritage Site. The last stronghold of the African elephant, of the population of the African elephant is there. And they are drilling on the migratory routes of these elephants. And you know what this means for us, whether you're listening or not. I don't care. I'm just telling you, the global north has been exploiting our continent for far too long. You have been coming on our continent to colonize us, take our resources, so you can have your comfort. So me, for the leaders of the G7, G20, everybody sitting over there, playing so important, we just want to tell them that we are not afraid. We will speak up. We want Recon Africa out of Namibia. We want the systematic colonialism to change. That is all I have to say, because we are tired of neo-colonialism. Development, investment is equal to colonialism, and we are tired of it. Thank you very much.
Hello. I would like to remark the importance of what has just been said, including indigenous communities, colonialism, and regarding resources. I'd like to speak from the soul, and I'd like to ask all of you, why are you here? Like, are you just following your schedule? Are you just checking things on your agenda? Are you trying to make a change? Are you going to, what are you going to do here? What happens in these places, which is called the Global South, we're constantly being exploited. And as you could see before, like, that's the reason we're being insulted all the time in our countries, because things are being taken out of us. And at the end, this crisis we're experiencing, this environmental crisis, is just as was said before, it's an expression of something much deeper, just like the gender problem, patriarchal society, corruption. These are just expressions of something much deeper, which lies inside of each one of us. And that's why I asked you at the beginning, why are you here? So, at the end, the environmental crisis is a problem of adaptability. And we, as a society, as a culture, as a post-industrial society, we're not going to go anywhere if we keep like this, if we keep discussing within the same parameters. Because the system is the thing that is wrong. If we start changing things, like I want to speak to the developing countries, or underdeveloped countries, or countries with hope, you might say. We are half in the way. What are we looking for? Are we expecting to become like these people? Are we expecting to become like countries from the global north, where their system just doesn't work? Because you still have corruption. You still, like, you're enslaved by the system. We're living to work. That's the thing we are pursuing, really? Is it? We as developing countries, or countries with hope, are half in the way. So we still have the chance to look to our roots, not look nor to the left nor to the right, but look down and look to our roots and remember our origins, remember our culture. The Global South has such a rich culture. All the indigenous communities, these people have the knowledge, these people have the wisdom, which is very different from the knowledge, from the intellectual knowledge, the wisdom which is within all of us. So we need to say, no, we don't want to become like you. We don't want to be enslaved by your system. You should be looking to be like us. Thank you.
Does any of you have any questions about this? We're all from the Global South, from South America.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not from the press, I'm just a member of population. I just wanted to know, what can we do in our own lives to help the Indigenous people defending places like the Amazon, which is so important to all of us, because I'm really touched by the predicament of the Indigenous people, and I just want to know, what can we do as individuals to help?
Yes, I
So, thank you so much for bringing this. This is so important, and I know that anyone is gonna answer me, but I want to do this question back. How much time when you spend on the internet or watching something on TV, you research something about what is happening with the traditional people? How much time you just like, let's see what is going on in Brazil, let's see what is happening with Indigenous people. You should start like knowing what is going on. We have so many laws and bills being applied right now. I can talk about Brazil. And all of these laws and all of these bills will start to complicate the process of the demarcation of the lands. So this means if this land is not demarcated anymore, the protection of these lands will end, because we just have the preservation. The only preservation that we have, the forest in Brazil, it's protected by Indigenous people. So if we don't have the Indigenous people, we don't have anyone. And how you can support, it's understanding what is going on, and it's always being aware all of the bills that the government or genocidal government is trying to apply and try to fight against, because people in Brazil don't know what is going on. Access to information, access to internet, unfortunately, is a privilege in Brazil. People don't even have a good education and good schools or good teaching, because the government don't want us to know what is going on. Because if we know what is going on, we don't want to be silent, and they want to silence us. So we want your help to know what is going on in your countries, to research. There's internet. If you have access to information, use, because not a lot of people have it. So use your voice that is more heard than our voice, and try to support us, not speaking for us, because we need your help to get our voices listened, but try to amplify and highlight our voices, because we have a lot of Indigenous and environmental defenders that are here, that are speaking. So media is really powerful. I always say that media should amplify more indigenous voices, because Europeans, white Europeans, is not the same as indigenous people. Indigenous people have knowledge that is millennials of history, millennials of knowledge, and this is just with us because it's from our ancestors, and it's just and always will be with us, not with Europeans, not with the global north. So when we talk about this, you listen to us and you amplify what we are talking about. Also, in a few days, we'll be more environmental defenders and indigenous from Brazil. So you also can look on social media. I will say some Instagram accounts. I don't know if you'll be able to see right now, but one of them is APIB, which is like one of the biggest projects in Brazil that talk about indigenous reality. And if you follow APIB, you will be the whole day aware what is going on in Brazil, what is going on with indigenous people. You can join us. We have a lot of strikes, protests, and tweet storms and everything. So yeah, I think that is why you all can help us.
Thanks, Adri. And I'm not Indigenous. I'm from Chile, South America. But we have to hear Adri the same way we hear Joe Biden. She has knowledge. She has the words, the experience. The same respect as Joe Biden, we have to hear the indigenous people from South America, from Asia, from South Africa. And I think that's it. Amplify their voices and hear them with respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who has stayed for this long. I know we were all waiting for our fellow MAPA activists who were supposed to be on the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior, but on their way here they got stopped by the police. I've been told they'll be 10 minutes. FFF Glasgow? Is this correct? Yes. If it's correct, then if you guys want to stay for 10 more minutes, you can chill. Or if there are any other speakers who want to speak. Again, if you want, now would be the time to actually do individual interviews while we wait for these amazing activists to come on the boat. You can talk to Sophia, who is raising her hand right now from Colombia. So she is doing many roles today, interpreter, media person, also an activist. So yeah, if you guys want to talk to her, talk to any individual activists. The people that we've been waiting for will be here in 10 minutes. 7 minutes, great! See, we're so much faster than the world leaders. I think there are fries, or whatever English people call it, crisps, chips, around the area, so if you want to get some, please feel free to. Chips, crisps, crisps. Thank you.
Want some chocolate? Do you want bread with hummus? I guess you all have hummus now. Does anyone want food?
There's also an old one. Very old one. It's like 5 years old.
Well, that's I know I'm going to just see everyone.
Between you and I?
Yeah, I don't call them.
I saw the I've got the price. Yeah, we've I want to read it. You won't be there. No. I'm going to be there, but we like to get you guys there. We've got the one of Guardian.
start with all the... Yeah, I left before the detachment.